All right, let's jump right in. Did you know that inside you, right now, there's one of the smartest defense forces on the entire planet? Seriously. It learns, it remembers, and it literally builds custom weapons just to protect you. Today, we're going to break down how this incredible system, your immune system, develops something called active immunity.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Why is it that you usually only get something like chickenpox once, right? You get sick, you feel awful, you get better, and then that's it. You're pretty much safe from it for life. It feels like magic, but it's not. It's an absolutely brilliant biological strategy. And the answer, well, it all comes down to your body's amazing ability to remember its enemies.
And that brilliant strategy? That's what we call active immunity. It's the whole reason that first run-in with a nasty bud makes your body so much smarter for the future. It's not just about fighting one battle, you see. It's more like it's building a permanent library, a most wanted list of every single invader it's ever taken down.
Okay, so here's the key thing to remember. The word active is super important here. Active immunity means your body does all the work itself. It's not borrowing defenses, it's manufacturing its own. Now this whole process, it can be a little slow to get started the very first time, but the payoff, oh, it's huge. We're talking about protection that can last for years and sometimes your entire life.
So how do we get this powerful immunity? Well, it turns out there are two main paths to get there. You could call them the hard way and the smart way. The hard way is, actually getting sick from an infection. The smart way, training your body with a vaccine. But what's really cool is that both paths lead to the exact same destination, your body creating its own powerful long-term defense system.
All right, to really get how this all works, we've got to meet the key players. Let's meet the troops in your internal defense force. We're talking about a full-on microscopic battle here with specialized soldiers and custom-built weapons. And the whole thing gets kicked off by one tiny telltale sign from the enemy.
First up, we have the antigen. Think of it this way. Every bad guy, every virus or bacterium wears a unique uniform. This uniform is made of proteins on its surface, and that's the antigen. And your immune system, it's like an expert detective, brilliant at spotting these uniforms and immediately knowing, hey, you don't belong here.
So the second your body spots that enemy uniform, a special team of your white blood cells, called lymphocytes, springs into action. These guys are the master weaponsmiths of your body. They design and start cranking out something called antibodies. And you can think of these antibodies as perfectly tailored, custom-built weapons. I mean, they're engineered for just one job, to find and lock on to one specific antigen.
And this right here just shows you how incredibly specific this whole thing is. I mean, look at this. Lymphocyte number 1 is producing antibodies that are the perfect shape for the antigens on this particular pathogen. They just click together, like a key fitting into a lock. Perfect fit. But the antibodies from lymphocyte 2 or 3? Nope, they won't work at all. It just goes to show you, each lymphocyte is a specialist, a master weaponsmith for only one kind of enemy. Okay, so your custom weapons have locked onto their target. Now what? What's the plan of attack? Well, it's actually a really clever two-part mission. It's not enough to just find the enemy. The goal is to take them completely out of the fight. First up, job number 1, neutralize. Just look at what's happening here. The antibodies literally swarm the bad guys and make them all clump together. The fancy word for this is agglutination. But really, what they're doing is tying the invaders up in a big, sticky mess, making it pretty much impossible for them to move around and infect any more of your cells. Then comes job number 2, signal for backup. An invader covered in antibodies is basically a sitting duck with a giant neon sign on it saying, "Eat me." It sends out a chemical flare, calling in the cavalry, the cleanup crew. These are heavy-duty immune cells called phagocytes, and their whole job is to show up and just devour the bad guys that have been marked for destruction.
Now, this whole process is just incredible, right? But going through a full-blown sickness just to learn the ropes is, pretty risky. So the big question is, how can we prepare our immune army for battle without having to fight a real war? And that's exactly where vaccination comes in. Think of it like a perfectly safe, super realistic training exercise for your troops.
So let's walk through how this training drill actually works. It's a really focused 4-step process. First, you get the introduction. The vaccine shows your body the enemy's uniform, that antigen we talked about, but without the dangerous enemy actually wearing it. Next, activation. Your body sees that uniform and bam, triggers the full immune response. Then, step 3, the response itself. The specialized lymphocytes multiply like crazy and unleash a huge wave of antibodies. But the most important part of this whole training exercise, the real grand prize, is what's created at the very end, the memory cells.
And these memory cells, they are the absolute game changer. These are the grizzled veterans of your immune army. They don't just fight, they remember. They hang out in your system for years and years, holding on to the exact blueprint for the perfect weapon needed to defeat that specific enemy, just in case it ever shows up again.
This memory is super powerful, but, just like any memory, it can fade a little bit over time. The number of those veteran soldiers can start to dwindle. And that's exactly why, for some diseases, our immune army needs a little refresher course, a little boost.
Which brings up a good question, right? Why do we sometimes need a booster shot? I mean, if the body has already created these amazing memory cells, why on earth would it need a reminder? Well, the answer is all about the difference in how your body responds the first time versus the second time it sees an enemy. And this graph just shows it so perfectly. That first exposure, the initial training, that creates what's called a primary response. You can see it there in the dotted line. It's okay, it works, but it's not huge, and it fades over time. But now, look what happens after the booster shot. That solid line, that's the secondary response. Whoa, it is so much faster, it's way stronger, and the protection lasts so much longer. A booster doesn't just remind your memory cells, it absolutely supercharges them.
Okay, so up to this point, we've been talking about how all of this protects you as an individual. But the true awe-inspiring power of this whole system is what happens when lots of people train their immune armies together. Because then, it's not just about protecting one person, it's about protecting the entire community.
And this is such a critical point. When you get vaccinated, your personal immunity becomes part of a huge collective shield. Every single person who trains their immune system adds another layer to that shield, making the whole community stronger and safer, especially for the people who, for whatever reason, can't get vaccinated themselves.
And these two images just illustrate that perfectly. Look at the top picture. When very few people are vaccinated, that disease just rips through the population like wildfire. There's nothing to stop it. But now, look at the bottom. When most of the community is vaccinated, the pathogen keeps hitting dead ends. It's like it's running into a brick wall over and over. It just can't find anyone new to infect, and the spread is completely contained. That's how we protect the most vulnerable among us.
And the science is really clear on this. When you get a large enough percentage of people vaccinated, you end up protecting the entire population. It's basically a numbers game. If a pathogen has nowhere to go, nowhere to breed, then the chain of infection just breaks. This incredible effect, this community-level protection, is what we call herd immunity.
So when you boil it all down, it comes back to that amazing living memory that's inside every single one of us. It's a system that evolved to protect one person, you. But when we harness it together, through vaccination, it becomes one of the most powerful tools we have to protect the health of everyone.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Beyond this incredible immune army, what other amazing, silent systems are working away inside you right now, keeping you safe every single second of every single day?